Okay, hey everybody, I am getting started here. I wanted to go ahead and put something there. I am here in Philadelphia for a very important birthday party. I'll let you guess what the theme is. Those of you with kids probably know that. And I'm not sure if any of you are old enough to have grandkids, but if you are, you know Toy Story. And that is the theme of the party that in any event, I've got a quick little session for you. First of all, I think that criminal law and agency are pretty straightforward. I don't think these are some of the more areas, but again, the devil is in the details. For criminal law, I've got some notes here that I want to talk to you about. But before I actually start talking about that, I want to let you know that schedule is, of course, listed in the syllabus on the canvas, but it shows you that our next exam is April 8th. After this one, the next exam, of course, is Wednesday, March 11th for criminal and agency. But then after that, for corporations and small businesses, it's nearly a month away. That's because spring break is there. And between, so we're going to have small business before the spring break, and then um, corporations and small businesses a little bit afterward, and you can go ahead and start again on studying for the final material. But then the exam number 5 will be on April 8th. Just want to let you know about that. Okay, criminal law. Some of the things, and I don't have the exam written yet, but I expect to uh, these topics to be covered on the exam as I write them. Criminal law, make sure that you understand burden of proof, how it works, um, understand the difference and similarities between criminal and civil law, what the overlaps are in addition to the similarities, how they work together. With civil intentional torts sort of relate? What's the difference between just a tort, negligent action, and criminal law liability? What do you have to show for criminal law liability? This is a business class. It's a business law class, so I think it's important to understand businesses and business exposure relative to criminal laws and criminal liability. So as a result, you will have some focus on corporate responsibility for criminal acts and criminal activities taken by the corporation as a whole. How does a corporation act? It acts through its officers and its employees, board of directors, that kind of thing. So the question is, when would a corporation be liable and how they're liable? How do you punish a corporation? And so all those kind of things are going to be important. I'm not going to hit you hard on the individual crimes, but there may be some focus on a little bit of it. Forgive me, I'm looking at my little post-it sticker notes. These, I don't think this would do you a whole lot of good for to look at it. So I'm just going to talk about them instead. Defenses, again, business law builds on itself, and we've worked on some of this before. When we started talking about defenses and how you are entitled to use reasonable force, for example, to protect not only your property but yourself, and that could include um, uh, even deadly force to protect yourself. Well, we're going to have the same kind of thing for criminal law liability. When is justifiable or reasonable force allowed, and in what context is that allowed? So you need to continue to focus on that. And again, um, uh, the focus there is on reasonableness as well. For the amendments, Fourth, Fifth, and Eighth Amendments are pretty important. I think you should know those and how those work. Fourth Amendment sort of focused on, what happens if the Fourth Amendment's violated. What are the different um, consequences for a violation of the Fourth Amendment. The Fifth Amendment, sort of the jack of all trades amendments. You have different aspects to the Fifth Amendment and just kind of know them all. The Eighth Amendment, of course, focus not quite as much focus as the Fourth and Fifth, but unusual punishment and that kind of thing needs to be also you need to be aware of. Miranda rights, what are they? A lot of people, I watch, I go down these Instagram video holes where I just doom scroll and I watch one video after another of these DUI pullovers and things of that nature. People think they understand what the law is. And I've seen well more than one where someone says, "Oh, you didn't even give my Miranda rights. You're in big trouble. You didn't give me my Miranda rights." And the police officer said, "I don't have to." And they think they've caught them in something. Well, I want you to really understand this because if you do get pulled over and don't drink and drive, but if you do get pulled over, you need to understand what your rights are in situations like that. What does Miranda actually mean? When does it apply? And what are the consequences if it's violated? It's not what you think. It's not what you think unless you study it. I should put it that way. Hopefully, you've studied it and you understand. Well, Miranda requires a meaningful instruction of what your rights are in your given language or language you understand. And that's really how it came about. Miranda versus Arizona involves some non English speaking defendants. And then it only applies to when you're in custody. So if they just walk up to you and start asking you questions and you just spill the beans and you're free to walk away, you just talk, talk, talk. They didn't violate Miranda. You just were stupid. Again, I'm trying to give you some help here. So what happens if they put you in custody? You're not free to go. You're detained or arrested. Then at that point, they're required to give you the Miranda rights. Well, so what? What if they don't? Okay, no big deal. The big deal is, well, if you say something that incriminates yourself and they didn't advise you of your rights after you were in custody by a police officer, then and only then can you exclude that evidence. That's the consequences. It's not a get out of jail free card. Anyway, I kind of get excited about that because again, I doom scroll these videos and things of that nature. Okay, let's see. I've done that, done that. I guess that brings us to agency, the second part of the exam. Agency is a very, very important aspect of tort liability. When you see the lawsuits and the big advertisements for the lawyers that are advertising, if you've been injured by a truck driver or whatever, call us, call Alex, whoever. Uh, Agency is a real big issue for that because the principal is responsible for the actions of their agent acting within the course and scope of their agency. That's a lot to unpack. And the chapter and the materials are focused on the details. Again, devil in the details. Not complex, just a lot of stuff you need to focus on. What are the differences? And the when you see the Walmart truck that hits somebody, well, who's liable in that situation? Assuming the Walmart driver was negligent. Well, the Walmart driver would be individually negligent, but probably Walmart is liable too. Why? Because he's an employee acting within the course and scope of his employment, and as such, under a principle of respondeat superior, which you're certainly going to need to know, and the principal agency theory, they're going to be responsible for that. Um, Employee versus independent contractor. That's a really important area for you. Know what the factors are. Know what the most important factor is. Know how you determine the factors and weigh those kind of things. What are the consequences of someone being an employee versus an independent contractor? Well, I've given you one. If the employee is an employee, the worker's an employee, then the employer, the company, is going to be liable for their actions committed within the scope of their employment. If they're an independent contractor, probably not. There's some exceptions to that because, law, but generally, that's one of the consequences. That's not the only consequence. Know what all the consequences are. Know the general types of agency. We do get into a power of attorney kind of discussion, and the materials themselves don't talk about it much, but I know my lecture goes into more about general durable powers of attorney, limited powers of attorney, non durable powers of attorney. You need to know kind of what those are, how and when they're effective. Uh, when do they terminate? How long are they good? What controls them kicking in? What controls them actually ending? Understand the general aspect of ratification. You ratify the agent, ratify actions of someone who is not your agent, or you didn't think they were your agent, or you didn't appoint them as your agent, but they took some sort of action on your behalf. Understand, if you will, um, how the principal might ratify their actions, and what is required in order to do that. Um, most of the rest of it, I think I've already covered. Factors. Oh, know the factors of scope of employment. What are the factors of scope of employment? How do you determine whether somebody is in fact acting? I apologize. It's the first time I've done a Zoom holding it with my phone. Hopefully this is working. Okay, not make it too dizzy. Understand, you know, kind of when you what things you look for to see if someone is acting within the scope of their employment, and what are the consequences of that? Why is that important to know? Um, can you be acting within the scope of your employment for most of the time and then pivot and do something else? Well, maybe. Um, and then what's the general term of an agency? When does it terminate? When does it end? Anyway, that's all that I have for you. Happy birthday to my grand twins. And the theme of the day, as you can tell, is Toy Story. I will, good luck to you on the